Hello everyone and welcome back to RJK Golf, a modern golf journey. My name is Riley Kegel. If you're new to the channel, I'm an aspiring professional golfer as well as golf course photographer and videographer, and I also do videos like this where we look at equipment reviews or just talk about things that are going on in the game. Most notably right now, as the thumbnail might suggest, we are going to take a look into the 2019 Masters Tournament this week in Augusta, Georgia. But first, I did want to make an announcement that I'm going to be starting a new sub-channel on this channel called A Journey to the US Open. One of my favorite golf YouTubers, Peter Finch, does Quest for the Open in England, as every year he tries to prepare to qualify for the Open Championship. So I thought I would do my own version, A Journey to the US Open, which will have a video at least once a week for the next 4 to 5 weeks leading up to US Open qualifying. That'll kind of take you behind the scenes of what it looks like to prepare for one of the biggest tournaments in the world. If you'd like to stay connected, please be sure to follow us on social media and right here on YouTube for the best content in golf on the internet today. So guys, as I said before, we are taking a look at the 2019 Masters Golf Tournament. There's a few things to note when looking at this golf tournament. The tournament every year plays a little, just slightly differently, obviously based on weather, but because they stay at the same course, the only real changes come if they make big changes to the golf course, which I know they've extended it a little bit in the last few years, but this year it doesn't really have any major impacts based on the tournament, so it'll be just as beautiful as always, I'm sure. So let's get right into the preview. If you're new to the channel, when I do preview shows like this, I pick 2 Americans, 2 international players, and then I either pick an outright winner or we'll pick a dark horse if I'm kind of unsure. It's kind of a laid back preview show, but it gives everyone an idea of what to expect at the tournaments that I preview. The one thing to note about the Masters before we start to get into previews of players is that statistically, 538 took a deep dive into strokes gained statistics for the whole year for Masters champions since 2004. And what they found is that the old adage, drive for show, putt for dough, does not match up with Augusta National. You have to putt well enough to get around and make some birdies, obviously, because it's a major championship. But most players that win the Masters, in fact, Zach Johnson is the only player that had a higher strokes gained putting season the year he won than tee to green. Every other player is usually in the top 10 strokes gained tee to green and usually well outside the top 100 strokes gained putting. So we are looking for players that can ball strike the entire week and put themselves in good positions to make birdies. So the first player that we are taking is going to be an American. It is of little surprise. It is world number 2, Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson has been an absolute beast at this golf tournament. I have written down here, he's ranked 5th in strokes gained tee to green and 13th in strokes gained putting. So he has the ball striking. He's a better putter than the average Masters winner in the past, but it doesn't hurt to be better at putting, obviously. He just exhibits so much class around the golf course with his ball striking that it's no surprise the last 2 times that he has played in the Masters tournament. Now remember, 2 years ago he missed due to injury, but in 2018 and 2016 he finished tied for 10th and tied for 4th. He likes the golf course. He's a world-class player, and Dustin Johnson is definitely a player to keep an eye on. So now we're going to look into our first international player this year for the Masters. My pick is actually one of the same internationals I picked for the Players' Championship because I believe in his long game especially more than almost anyone in the world, and that is Hideki Matsuyama of Japan. Now Hideki, I have right here, he has a top 10 finish in the Players' Championship as well as 2 other top 10 finishes this year. He doesn't have the best record in the Masters, but he does have 2 consecutive top 20 finishes as well as being ranked, let's see, 3rd in strokes gained tee to green and 180th in strokes gained putting. I talked about in the Players' Championship preview how, if you remember a couple years ago at the WGC Bridgestone, he shot 61, 62, somewhere in the low 60s to run away from the field, and that's what happens when his putter gets hot. he is one of the hardest players to beat when his putter gets hot. So that's why I'm going to continue to look at Hideki Matsuyama at all these big events, because if he gets on a string of holes where he starts to make putts, they will be for birdie, and he will be moving up the leaderboard very quickly. All right, so next is going to be the second American and my dark horse pick for the Masters this week. If you're familiar with PGA Tour golf, you're probably going to know who this player is. If you're not familiar, you've probably never even heard of this player, and that is Patrick Cantlay. He is currently ranked 21st in the world. He doesn't have a great record at the Masters. In fact, the only result I could find was a missed cut. I believe it was last year. But the thing is, as I said before, he's ranked 21st in the world. He does have a win on the PGA Tour. It was last year. But this year he has a second place finish at the Shriners Hospital Open. But the two big events, the WGC Mexico Championship and the HSBC Championship, he has top 10 finishes in both of those. Those are big time events with the best players in the world that also show up to the Masters. He's 10th place in strokes gained tee to green and 81st in strokes gained putting. He gets a lot of bad rap for being a slow player on the PGA Tour, but there's no shot clock in golf, so sometimes you just have to look at the statistics and see who is performing. And when you're looking for a dark horse, you want a guy who plays well but never gets any coverage. You might not even see him hit a shot until the weekend, and he would have to be way up the leaderboard. He doesn't get a ton of coverage, but Patrick Cantlay is definitely the pick for all of you out there that might be looking for someone to take, whether you're betting or just enjoy watching the game, that can move up leaderboards very quickly. And finally, we've come to our final pick. This is our second international player. This is probably the chalkiest pick that you could have the entire week. He is the favorite to win the tournament according to all the Vegas odds, and that is Rory McIlroy of Northern Ireland. It is no surprise that Rory is in this position. I believe he's had 5 straight top 10 finishes in the Masters. He had a meltdown of sorts in the 2011 Masters before he really ascended to the top of the game. But coming off the win at the Players' Championship, he has a second place finish in a WGC event and I believe 4 other top 5 finishes this year. He's in first place in strokes gained tee to green. He is currently ranked 52nd in strokes gained putting, which is actually not too bad for Rory. He's been putting it well, and there's no one in the world that's better at ball striking right now than Rory. I picked him to get second place at the Players. He ended up winning. Maybe I'll say he'll get second place here and he'll win again. But Rory McIlroy is about as world-class of a player as we have right now in the game. And anyone who would look the other way and fade Rory at this point in time, unless something catastrophic happens this week, Rory McIlroy should be the pick of a lot of people. So everyone, I hope that you enjoyed this video. We have Dustin Johnson and Patrick Cantlay as our 2 Americans, and Hideki Matsuyama and Rory McIlroy as our international players. Please, in the comments below, let me know who you guys think is going to win this tournament, and please enjoy this wonderful week for the game of golf, and we will see you very soon with a journey to the US Open. Thanks, guys.